Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Brainbean here again, and today Fnatic has released a new 65% gaming keyboard. I am a big fan of 65% keyboards, so I am all for seeing gaming companies come out with smaller form factor keyboards. I'm really excited for this one, so let's check it out. Starting as always with construction and design, the Streak 65, as the name implies, has a compact 65% layout. And I am all for this, as 65% keyboards are my favorite layout. I think they're a little bit more versatile than 60% keyboards, although they do make finding aftermarket keycaps a little bit harder. This board is super lightweight and comes in at just 420 grams. This initially made me very concerned for this keyboard, but the overall feel doesn't suffer from this too much. The Streak 65 is made up of a matte aluminum top plate over a plastic case, but I think the bulk of the strength of this keyboard comes from the rounded edges of the aluminum, which add a little bit more stability to the keyboard. There's almost no flex when cranking down on the board, and the rubberized pads and extendable legs do a really good job at keeping the board in place, and the keyboard didn't move around at all during my testing. As for branding, there's a white Fnatic logo at the top center of the keyboard, and there's an illuminated Fnatic logo in the spacebar. At the back of the keyboard, there's a magnetic removable logo with some RGB shining through. And I'm guessing that this is a way to customize these keyboards to tailor more towards esports teams or people to just have a little bit more personal flair on their keyboards. I am all for extra customizability anytime you can on a keyboard, so I love to see features like this. And Fnatic says the whole design philosophy behind this keyboard was to make it ultra portable and lightweight and easy to bring back and forth between tournaments or practices, really heavily leaning into the esports nature of their brand. To facilitate this, the board has a removable USB-C cable, which is always nice. It makes it easy to slap custom cables on there. And this board does have a low profile design, which again adds to the portability, but there's also another little neat benefit to this as well. Fnatic designed the Streak 65 so that the case, switches, and keycaps together would work to create a comfortable ergonomic experience designed to have the desk function as your wrist rest at the proper height. The overall execution of this makes for a board that feels really great to use in a variety of environments. I do think though that this makes this keyboard a lot less desirable for people who just want a daily driver that's going to live on their desk. On the flip side of that though, I think this is an awesome keyboard to throw into a laptop bag. The Streak 65 uses Fnatic low-profile switches, which are branded as Kale switches. These linear mechanical switches have a 1mm actuation force, 3.2mm total travel, and a 45-gram actuation force. Now, one thing I want to make clear is that Fnatic is advertising this switch as being the world's fastest gaming switch on the market. But when you look at Cherry's low-profile speed switch, it has the exact same specs as this switch. You also look at something like Corsair's OPX switch, which also has a 1mm actuation force, so I think it's more appropriate to say this is one of the fastest switches on the market right now. Performance is basically the same as most low-profile switches to me. I like that the switch feels stable and the linear action is pretty smooth, although there is a little bit of friction feeling there. Now, I'm personally not a big fan of linear switches, and I do see the appeal for them in gaming, but I still really like it when keyboard companies at least allow for one or two extra options just to ensure that the buyer can get a switch type that they like. The stabilizers come pre-lubed and they're actually pretty nice out of the box. I gotta say, I'm really liking this new trend where companies are starting to pay a little bit more attention to the quality of their stabilizers. And just so you guys can hear what I'm talking about, here is a quick sound test. The keycaps on the Streak 65 are made of ABS plastic. Obviously, a little bit of a bummer in this day and age of most premium keyboards coming with PBT. Low-profile PBT keycaps are less common, but they definitely do exist. I found mine looking a little bit oily just after a day or so of testing, and you can count on these getting shiny over time as well. On the plus side, the font is clean and simple, and there's some nice vibrant shine through, and all the secondary characters are illuminated too. One cool thing that Fnatic did was custom mold the profile on these keycaps so that they feel a little bit more how full height keycaps should feel. I tested these against some other low profile keyboards in my collection, and there's definitely a noticeable difference in how deep the concave is on the sculpt, and this does a lot to make the board feel less like a traditional low profile keyboard. As for the lighting, the board has full per key RGB that's nice and vibrant, and the board comes pre-programmed with 8 lighting effects which you can change right on the keyboard. And you can do other stuff directly on the keyboard as well, like your macro recording and all of that. Pretty standard fare here. Fnatic does have their OP software, which lets you customize up to 4 profiles and save them directly onto the keyboard's memory, although the degree of customization on this software is rather limited. For example, of the 8 lighting effects that are pre-programmed, most of these you can either just change from a rainbow variation or change it to a single color, and you can't do anything like multi-layered effects. The only other thing you can change in the software is to remap your keybinds. And I should point out that the version of this software that I tested was the early access version, so features could definitely change by official release. I do like that there's 3 LEDs in the spacebar, and while it doesn't really do anything to illuminate the stock spacebar, it makes me wonder if Fnatic will offer custom spacebars to go with the swappable nameplates, as having those 3 LEDs would allow you to fully illuminate a custom spacebar, very similar to how Ducky's Year of Spacebars work. Like most compact keyboards, you can get full-size functionality with a combination of function keys, and I do think it's a cool use of this keyboard's limited space to have the insert, delete, page up, and page down key on the right side of the board be default bound to macro keys and require the function key to use them as their appropriate commands, as I think a lot of people don't really use those keys anyway, so it's a good use of the space. I'm really excited to see another gaming company come out with a compact layout keyboard, especially a 65%er. I'll take that all day long. And I really like a lot of the interesting stuff that Fnatic has done with this keyboard. As far as gaming keyboard releases go, this is one of my favorites in a long time. And I think Fnatic does deserve some credit for the fact that they had a clear vision for what they wanted this keyboard's purpose to be, and they tailored all aspects of its design to fit into that mold. And that's exactly what they delivered, although I do think by its very nature, this is going to make this board less desirable to some people depending on what they're going to use it for. I mean, do you guys remember when we could go places? God, I miss LAN parties. The comfort is certainly there, but I do think this keyboard would be a lot more competitive if the price was just a little bit lower than the competition. The only real complaints I have for this board are the ABS keycaps and the limited software. PBT just makes for a more premium feel, and it's hard to go back to ABS when you've been using PBT for so long. And when you can get a Ducky 1-2 Mini or a Huntsman Mini for around the same price, it's kind of hard to overlook that. That said, the performance of this board is pretty great. I really like the keyboard overall, and I plan to keep mine in my laptop bag as the lightweight and sleek design is just perfect for on-the-go use. To that point, having a top covering or some kind of carrying case definitely would have been a smart inclusion by Fnatic. I do see this as being a really viable option for esports players, and I'm really looking forward to see what else Fnatic is going to do and where they're going to take their keyboards in the future. Well, that's it for the video, guys. Let me know in those comments down below what you think about Fnatic's new Streak 65 keyboard. And of course, if you made it this far into the video, I'd love to see you guys subscribe. I've got a lot more videos coming for you in the near future. You can also follow me on Twitter at BrainBeanGaming. But as always, guys, stay safe out there, take care of each other, and I will see you in the next one.